Another person signed up, and then usually there's a couple other people that show up. So we'll see what happens. Another person signed up. Okay, so we are going to dive into our experience of being humans in bodies. And we'll use a little bit of sound and the vibration of sound and sensing into that just to deepen our awareness of our own system. And all of this is in the interest of developing more coherence in your system, which means your heart, your guts, your hormones, your respiratory are coming online together so that you are in alignment with yourself, in harmony with yourself. So I'm going to start seated. All of the stuff can be done on seated, laying down, on all fours, however it feels good to you. And the interest is really to come into awareness, letting yourself land in your body mind as it is right now, without any huge goals to fix anything, although maybe things will come more online as you're in there, maybe they won't. But coming in with the intention of just really being present with yourself and being present with your cells. So being present with your body mind on this sort of macro and micro level. And we may want to like engage in micro movement, little small adjustments, or big macro movement. And all of that is invited in and welcome. Ideally, we start to open up so that our system starts to speak a little bit to us and we can go, oh, it would feel really good if I did this or if I did that. So we're going to start just coming in for a landing, feeling what it feels like to be you right now, feeling what it feels like to be in your surroundings. And ideally, like we can take in our surroundings as colors and shapes and temperatures, not as, oh my God, there's something that I need to clean, and oops, there's dust over there, which although sometimes when we're down the floor, it's very easy to see a dust ball, but like, don't let it give you any extra gripping or any extra tension if that's possible. So just softening into being a person in your body, in your space, with as much equanimity as possible. So we're going to do our first breath, which is called a theta breath. It's a soft hiss, like steam releasing from a radiator, which is going to downregulate our nervous system a little bit. So it'll extend our exhale. If it feels uncomfortable, if it feels stressful, don't do it at all. Just breathe normally. But if you are going to do it, it's a deep inhale. And then tongue just behind the teeth with a very gentle, soft hiss. Taking resting breaths whenever you need them. So we're not trying to make this infinite extended exhale. We just want to go with what feels good in our system. And as soon as we want to breathe in again, let that happen. So what we're starting to bring online is really honoring what our body wants, what feels good in our system. From the deepest wisdom, from our highest self, from the wisdom of our cells and our bones. So coming into that, we'll play with this theta for a few more breaths or a few more minutes. Let your body start to soften up and maybe create some internal spaciousness through micro movement, little teeny adjustments, little rollings or twistings or undulations, little internal spirals. We're just inviting the fluidity of our body, the fact that we are bodies of water, to really come into our experience and free up. And just because I've been learning this, and I was thinking about it the other day when I was working with water. We are bodies of water, and the water mudra is this. It's your pinky to your thumb. Let's do a couple breaths with that water mudra. So 3 fingers up, pinky to thumb, and just see if that brings water online more for us or not. Like we're just noticing what happens if I try this. And we can imagine water moving in many different ways. Water can be a gas, it can be like steam, it can be a solid like ice, it can be gel or liquid, right? So it can be all these different ways. So imagining that we're working with these gel and liquid within our body, and maybe even the gas, like with the moisture in our breath. So playing with that for a few more breaths with this theta exhale. And I'm here on a physio ball, so it's very easy for me to kind of move with the sense of flow. So if you have any way that that makes it easier for you, go for it. If you're just seated or laying down, feel free to roll around. Feel free to mobilize your inner body. Easy little internal adjustments. So I'm not sure if it's the mudra or if it's something else, but I am noticing that my mouth is watering more than usual. And I'm having a lot of water imagery. Of course, I'm talking about water, so maybe this is coming in from my own imagination, but however it comes in, I'm going to accept it. So if wateriness is landing in any way, invite it in. You can let go of the mudra, especially if it feels stressful on your hands. So this is not like a natural position for my hands to form in. So it requires a little bit of work. So I'm just going to let that go. But I'm going to allow this fluidity that has arisen to express a little bit by inviting in micro movement. It can be an undulation through my spine, could be spirals. What I want to do is not impose an idea onto my body, but allow my body to speak. So if I'm not quite sure, what can I do? How does my body move? Imagine that you've just landed in this human body. You can feel that you have this spine and you're letting that mobilize. You're letting your head tail connection move and imagining that within that, inside the bulb of the structure of your cranium, this big bony structure, there is a very fluid brain. The beginning of your nervous system or the end, depending on which way you're looking at it. And that's routing down through your spinal cord and out through your limbs. So we're developing or tuning into this sense of the deep level of fluidity within our system. And we're inviting that online in our nervous system. And I'm going to play a little bit more with the theta breath and invite movement into my arms. And I'm rolling around here or moving around here on my ball. When we allow our nervous system to dial down regulate, we come into rest and digest, soothe and settle, bringing ourselves into a slower pace where our body has time to heal and recuperate. So we really want to invite that in, especially as we live in a very dopamine driven, fast paced world. So coming into the slowness and allowing the physical sensation of being a person, your interoception, your exteroception, your proprioception, your kinesthetic awareness, your awareness of your movement within space, bringing that online as a playground to play within, right? As I'm in here feeling, what do I feel inside as I'm moving? What awareness is coming online? And then how does the space around me feel as I move through it? So you might even be in stillness and still you can have these questions. What does it feel like if I do this? What does it feel like if I do that? What does it feel like to be in my system right now? And as I'm in there with this micro movement, with this breath and this theta sound, can I let go of any tension? Is there anything I'm holding on to which is unhelpful at this point in my life? A lot of times we've developed these holding patterns or the way we hold our body or our posture or our movement. We've developed these ways of moving as coping mechanisms to cope with the world that we have been receiving. So we're seeing if we can let go of any of those coping mechanisms, any of those holding patterns, any of that armoring to have a little more freedom within our system. And when I'm moving with that theta breath or moving from the theta breath into the space after it, I can feel more spaciousness in my cells, in my tissue. So it's just an invitation. If something else comes online that's interesting for you to explore, feel free to just go with that. Working with the theta breath as long as it feels good. I'm going to offer one more thing here, and that is just gently turning your head from side to side. As you're panning the horizon, if we open our eyes and look around, taking in our environment, and we see that we are safe, we're giving our brain stem the information that we can downregulate. We don't need to be in hypervigilance, that we're like safe enough to let go a little bit. And then if we take that movement and start to make it smaller and maybe hang out in little areas where, oh, it's interesting to be right here in the movement of this little turning of my head or over here. Letting our awareness really dial into that movement in our head, neck, relaxing our jaw, and feeling this connection where our head is connecting onto our spine. Moving smaller and smaller just to help our awareness really dial into that area. And as I go into that and close my eyes, my whole body wants to kind of move backwards, retreat, retreat into the back space. And maybe it's different for you, just feeling into however things arrive and noticing what's going on. What does this feel like? And that may stimulate other movement to start happening or like inspire other things. So letting yourself tune to whatever is interesting, whatever's coming online for you, whatever's becoming curious. And we've been trained for most of our lives not to move or to move in very specific patterns if we're learning a sport or dance or whatever. Then it's like there's a right and a wrong way, do it like this. Or if it's yoga, yes, the arms aren't quite straight enough. There's a lot of imposition from the outside. Here we're letting go of that, cracking off that imposition that this needs to look a certain way and entering into what does it feel like in here? I have a little cat that I need to free out of the room. Oh, nope, doesn't want to go. So inviting your system online, your body mind, to integrate as we're in this exploration. If there's thinking, if there's story, if there are a lot of thoughts happening, let it go or let it be there, but don't give it your focus. So keep coming back to physical sensations inside your body, sensations on the surface, or even awareness around you. It could be sound, it could be vision, it could be smell. And I'm going to give us music. I thought we were going to work more from earth, but we're really working from water. We can also imagine that our nervous system is bolstered and supported by our whole body. So it's hanging out there, suspended in our fascia, supported by the bones, supported by our spine. And it's also routed along usually with our vascular and our vascular system and our lymphatic system. And it's sort of bundling together, moving through the fascia. So we're just imagining that within this space, this aliveness of our nervous system, there's incredible capacity for recapitulation. It can renegotiate the internal space. It can heal. it can't, it's like sometimes we're told that the body is a certain way and this is the way it's going to be. Like have heard about people who've had like car accidents and then it's like you're never going to walk again, but then they do. So we do have tremendous generative regenerative capacity if we can come in from a different angle, which is more like being present with, bringing our awareness into and allowing this internal movement to gently renegotiate the space inside our body so that there is a capacity for healing injuries, bringing life energy into organs, into whatever it is we're working with. By slowing down, so we're in a very parasympathetic state. We have calmed the system. And I'm going to add music. This music is Jeff Gersh, and it's called Ambient Fields. And this is album 1, song 1. So let the music move you. Let the music be part of the landscape. Let it arrive inside of you and inspire movement, or not. Maybe it inspires stillness, who knows? I'm going to take it down to the floor. Yeah, so as I'm coming down to the floor, I'm going to really feel my bones dropping down, feeling the weight of myself dropping into the earth. So I have that relationship to the earth, or I have it coming online. The gravitational pull of the earth supporting my whole system, and the fluids in my body helping to form the inner space of my system. I was reading about stalactites and stalagmites, and they're formed by water that it filters through the earth and picks up carbon dioxide and becomes more acidic, and then it travels either down if it's a stalactite or up if it's a stalagmite. But it forms these mineral deposits which create this structure, which is ultimately pretty strong, right? And it's similar in our body, like with our bones and our fluids and our fascia. Like we can renegotiate the inner space. Not like I don't know. The stalactite and stalagmite thing is somehow inspiring to me, of this fluid and earthiness that creates structure, which we also have. How you move is how your fascia forms to support your movement. So bringing online a sense of flow from the center to the edge, whether it's moving, whether it's not moving. This is what we would call a core distal relationship, center to edge, like a starfish, or even like a octopus. Imagining the fluidity of your inner body to be very intelligent and spacious. And as I'm down here, I'm letting the weight of my body really drop into the floor. I'm not fighting the floor. I'm yielding into the floor and allowing this movement of rolling around, moving slowly, to sort of massage out my back body and soften my inner body, letting my nervous system float in my whole body, suspended and supported in the fascia, in the fluids. And imagining that the nourishment from my system is easily moving through my system, right? As I engage in movement and imagination, I can, even if I feel like there's a block somewhere or there's an injury somewhere, I can imagine that the flow can still move through that place. So inviting that in, inviting the flow of liquid and earth together to form healthy tissue in your body, or to release inflammation. Right? I said to release inflammation, and I thought also release information, like information is stored in our tissue. So letting it release information as well, the information, the history of your life. Maybe there are parts that you're really kind of holding on to. Everything within us, our body is like the tapestry of our lived experience. Somebody else said something like that. Our body is the story, the history of our experience of being a person on the planet. So freeing it up, however you think you're supposed to look or move or be, maybe soften that idea. Letting go of should. And coming into the isness of being, the actual experience of being. With curiosity and a sense of humor is also helpful. So there's a thing in machine learning called motor babbling. And it's where the machines are learning how to do something and they kind of feel around for it, which is funny because they're machines. But give yourself the freedom to motor babble without actually having to learn a skill, but just letting your body mind experience being in a new way as if it's freshly just arriving in the world. And you can motor babble. You can be infant like in your movement learning. I mean, a real infant, it takes a while to start developing, but let's say you're a little bit older, enough to have some differentiated skill, right? You can have some motor skill in your motor babbling. So for most people, the way that people use their hands these days is really different than what it would have been prior to the technical revolution and then the tech revolution, the industrial revolution and the technological revolutions have really shifted the way that we use our hands. So inviting your hands to come into organic handness, organic hand mobility, where there's exploration. And sometimes it feels good to have a lot of tension and try things with tension. So try things with tension and then try things with just letting go of that tension. Sometimes we don't know we're holding tension until we add more and then release it, or until someone touches us or we touch ourselves. These organs of touch, our skin and our hands, and inviting them really into your perception and awareness. And I can touch on in this very surface way, like where I'm just touching the surface of my body. Or I can kind of get in there and touch deeper into the more grabby and proddy, touching into the deeper layers of fascia and muscle or bone, or even like tendon, ligament. So let yourself differentiate a little bit. Like I could touch surface or I could get really into it. But awakening this, the capacity for movement skill in your hands. If you play an instrument, you probably have it. If you weave or knit, you probably have a different kind of movement skill, or if you potting, taking the earth in your hands. So just imagining all that's possible from there. Inviting in new neural connections in your play, motor babbling those hands. You may want to motor babble your feet. sometimes in these explorations, or often in our body, it's very easy to feel pain, right? Like, oh, I have an injury, I can feel the pain. So a lot of awareness can go into that area. If that is the case, then also try to feel what feels good. And don't feel like you're forcing anything. You're not forcing anything to force the healing in from the outside or fix it, but just being present with the experience of being. And if you notice pain, see if you can notice pleasure. Can you notice what feels good as well? Giving yourself full freedom to move in any way that feels good and interesting. And you could also bring back the theta breath anytime you want. So that soft hiss. Probably my earbuds are cutting it out, but I'm playing with the hiss and seeing what that inspires in movement. Still motor babbling my hands and feet. Letting yourself pour your body around. So using the fluidity of your body to pour around. Greasing up and hydrating your inner body, greasing up your joints. So you're stimulating the production of synovial fluid just by moving. And the more sort of diverse ways we move, the more neural pathways come online, and the more we sort of break down predictive processing into what is actually going on. When we try novel movement, moving away from what's familiar, we're changing the pattern of our being in the world. And when we change that, the world changes, right? Our experience becomes broader and more spacious, which can be destabilizing. So if it does come to feel like, oh, this is too weird, I need to calm down, or get up, take a walk, have some water, go to the bathroom. And the other thing, sometimes like while we're in these explorations, you might fall asleep. And in my book, that's totally fine. If you fall asleep in the exploration, it means you needed to fall asleep. It's totally acceptable. Just to throw another idea, since we kind of worked with the water idea a lot, and we worked a little bit with the earth idea of our bones and connection to the gravity, but let's bring in the idea of air, which we were working with our breath anyway. But can you move like the air? Can you move like the wind? Can you find the lightness of the air in your movement quality? Can you float? Wind and air can be very strong, but it can be very gentle. It can be very light and soft. So tuning to those qualities and inviting them into your system. You can also play with just pushing out and away and then drawing in, right? Pushing things out and away and inviting things back in. Like our hands know what it is to push away and create a boundary. They also know what it is to invite in, to welcome. So playing with that relationship of these magical hands, or even your feet. Feet know how to kick away. I don't know if you've ever had a baby push you away with its foot. It's like, I do not want you, get away. So that could be something to play with. Get it, like, push away, finding boundary. And often the body knows, right? The body knows, I want to push that away, or I really want to invite that in. Playing with those gestures in your hands. Can I push it away with an airy quality or a watery quality or a earthy quality? Like, you can play shifting these things around. And it might be different on a different day, that one works and another one works the next day. So every day is a different day in your body, and we're layering in this information. When I first started doing somatic practice, I was like, oh, they're not doing anything, because I needed like really specific, like, I can really feel it. And now, like, years and years later, I'm like, oh, there's so much going on. So we're just attuning to a little more subtlety in our system, subtlety in the system. And then we can listen deeply and hear what's being said to us through our body on that body level. And if we're taking in our body on that deep level, it's much more, it's easier to be integrated and in alignment with yourself in your life and with other people, because there is no other way when we're really listening to our body. No, I'm not going to go do that thing. I'm going to say no to that, or I'm going to say yes to that. So finding boundary through our body. Am I ready to move forward? Do I need to back up? Or can I share this with everyone? Or I need to gather it in and draw into myself. I'm ready to grow into this, or I kind of need to shrink away from that. So listening in for the information on the sort of cellular tissue level. And you could ask about anything. And trust it. So much of our culture requires us to override our bodies so often. Override sleep, override rest, override, or go out and do a bunch of things that maybe aren't great for you. And it's not to say don't go do things, but as a culture, we tend to prioritize busyness. And sometimes it's not worth it. Or, oh yeah, I really have to do it because of so and so. They will feel really bad if I don't do this thing. But really, if it's not in alignment with you, you're not doing anyone any favors. So finding boundary through your body. Yes, I'm ready for that. Let's do that. Or nope, nope, nope. It feels good to say no. Zoom's recognizing my hand gestures and like trying to pop them up. It's really funny. Letting your animal body be free like an animal, right? Animal's not worried about what its belly looks like. They're more interested in just filling the belly. turn off the music and just give us a minute to process the processing. Yeah, so when I first started coming into like doing continuum practice and like long dives of really deep embodiment, I started to realize, oh, I just need more and more of this. It wasn't like I'd come out of a dive and be like, oh, now I'm ready to go. It's not like taking a yoga class or a Pilates class or something and then being like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to go. It's more like, oh, I need to go in deeper. There's more in there. So giving yourself lots of time and space to process the processing and noticing like the results of the experience, it's not always immediate. It can be like a longer term thing, especially with our bodies. Our bodies love slow and taking our time to do things, to build slowly, right? Things that happen slowly in our body are more sustainable. Things that happen really quickly are often injuries. So giving ourselves time to process the processing and also lots of space, like it might be later in the day or later in the week, or like, oh yeah, I had a person once tell me after a mat class, oh, I felt so good. I just don't know if it's actually doing anything for me. And I'm like, So tuning into how your body feels in the immediate, further away from the event, further away from that, and just seeing. Anyway, that is that. I'm going to